Stephen A. always says, just wait. Something bad always happens.
No, don't start that. Don't start that.
Let me tell you. No. First of all, I wouldn't do that right now. In all seriousness, RC, This is a season-ending injury, so I'm certainly not going to joke about that with Trayvon Diggs, my brother.
Respect.
I got a lot of.
This is a major, major blow for Dallas, and like Stephen A. always says, just wait.
So I had to play it almost twice. Because, listening to Bart Scott, and he's part of the problem. He's part of the problem that we have with sports and the sports media. There is this insistence on everyone to look at Dallas and say, what's bound to happen is going to happen eventually. And what Stephen A. Smith does is he bets on the likely probability of a team not winning at all versus the field. So he bets on the field, knowing very well that his chances of being accurate and being correct, he's got a 95% chance of being correct every year. So where he makes himself appear to be this guy who can figure it out and what's evidently going to go bad or something's going to go bad. There's only one team, by the way, in the NFL, in any sport, that gets to win the championship. The Kansas City Chiefs are the defending NFL Super Bowl champions after beating the Philadelphia Eagles to win last year's Super Bowl. Dallas Cowboys have seen season after season not be successful in terms of the ultimate goal of winning it all. They have been successful, though, in winning games. So last week's Sunday's debacle, the Cowboys collapse at Arizona, but it's not as weird as you think. I believe 7 out of the last 8 times they've actually played Arizona, they've lost. Better team, not better team. They've actually lost to the Cardinals. So Arizona has had Dallas's number. Sometimes you just run into a team or a player or a fighter or whatever it is in the sport that just seems to have a matchup issue. There's a matchup problem for whatever reason with the Arizona Cardinals. The Cowboys, who I thought should have won the game, but as a fan and a lifelong fan of the Dallas Cowboys, since Tony Dorsett and Roger Staubach, being a kid watching them, I knew and I was concerned that this would be the game, this would be a setup game, because the national media were all over Dallas as far as winning these games, and it looked and appeared as if Dallas was ready for prime time. And I told my friends, Jersey Gene, I told my guy Ace, and Tony Old Romance Hall, great novelist, great musician, great father, great guy, period, that I was a little concerned. And so I got my guy Ace, who is a Cowboy fan, who is Mr. Positive, right? He's always, we're going to come back and win. We're going to do this. And I'm the realist, right? And Gene is probably somewhere in the middle when I look at my guys I normally text and a lot on game day. But I'm looking at what I'm seeing. And one of the things I told Gene is this team mature enough to handle prosperity? And he said, well, we've got Dak, we've got people like, I believe he said, Zach Martin, who turned out to not even play in a game, right? So we missed him. We also missed another future Hall of Famer, Tyron Smith, who was a game time decision, wasn't able to play. We missed, obviously, Tyler Biadasz, who is a Pro Bowl center who was out of the game. So you missed 3 important pieces of your offensive line. That's a big deal. Play calling is what really doomed Dallas in the red zone, not Dak Prescott. Well, not according to the media, of course, it's always Dak. But it was play calling. And Dak Prescott has his detractors in droves. Even Cowboy fans who want Cooper Rush. And I'm trying to figure out something, guys. Do you know True Cooper Rush was cut last year by the Dallas Cowboys and no one claimed him? Wait a minute. No one claimed your quarterback that you want to start. No one claimed him. Why do you think that is? So we're going to get into it, man. This is Sports Bucks with Steve. We're going to get into it. And I appreciate you guys for tuning in. Go tell a friend. Let them people know. We got over 5,700 subscribers that love YouTube or love the show on YouTube. Go tell a friend. But we're back at it again.
Hi, my name is Lily. My mom and dad used to fight about money all the time. Then one day, I heard them talking about this guy, some uncle I never knew, called Uncle Sam. Well, they say this Uncle Sam guy wanted them to pay him like $1 gazillion, and they didn't have $1 gazillion. So they called this company they heard on the radio called the Tax Doctor. And the Tax Doctor worked with Uncle Sam's people. I think they're called the IRS. And they're able to work it out so my mom and dad didn't have to pay Uncle Sam very much money at all. So now mom and dad are happy, and I'm happy too. Thanks, Tax Doctor.
If you owe $10,000 or more to the IRS or state, call now and pay less.
Call 800-268-1055. That's 800-268-1055. 800-268-1055.
It's a bird!
It's a plane!
No, it's Super Roth!
Okay, a gimmicky opening for a commercial about Super Roth Universal Life Insurance, but I'm sure it got your attention. Now, what is a Super Roth, you ask? It's a permanent indexed universal life insurance that's totally liquid and easily accessible once it matures. Can be used to supplement retirement savings or a death benefit, or both. Has no income or contribution limit. Has no 5-year rule like Roth IRAs. Has no 10% penalty for accessing the funds before age 59 and a half. Oh, and the average historical returns are 5 to 7% annually. Tax-free. Super Roths also lock in gains, which means you don't lose your money when the market is down. Sounds incredible, right? Sounds super? Super Roths are the way of the future, specifically your future. To see if you qualify for a Super Roth, go online to thesuperroth.com.
This is another one and another episode of Sports Bucks with Steve. We so appreciate you once again for tuning in to the show. But I want to talk a little bit about that video that I opened the show with. And this was with Bart Scott, who said whatever could happen. Now, to Stephen A. Smith and Ryan Clark's credit, they did check him. But this has been brought on by Bart's constant can't wait, which is what's got him on TV when he was a New York Jet. Bart was a one-time Pro Bowler. You know, he was a good player in the NFL, but he seems to have a lot of disdain and hate for one Dakota Rain Prescott, and not even a rival of the Cowboys, which is what I always find amazing for some of these media guys. And I use that word loosely when it comes to some of them. So Bart Scott, whatever bad can happen, talked about an injury to an all-pro Trayvon Diggs, which you can clearly see something was wrong with the Dallas Cowboys when we played the Arizona Cardinals. It looked like preparation. It looked like a lack of fundamental commitment. The biggest problem that I saw looking at the game, at least in the first half, was Dallas has to figure out how to play against quarterbacks that run. So this show and the running game in general of your opponents. and how you run the football in the red zone as an offense. I think there are several things that are all tied together. And running the football too much when you're behind 2 scores is what Mike McCarthy decided to do. Big Mike gets a lot of flack in the media for a guy who's won a Super Bowl and had legendary quarterback in Aaron Rodgers. But he's rated very low because of decisions that he makes at times, which is baffling. Mike McCarthy was going up against a rookie head coach and a rookie staff and was out-coached, was out-schemed. And you're saying to yourself, how is this even possible? How is that happening? How can this even be true? How is this possible with a guy who's won a Super Bowl and has seen all sorts of scenarios as an NFL head coach? That's what lost the game. Mike McCarthy and Dan Quinn have both been Super Bowl coaches. Dan Quinn with the Atlanta Falcons. And he found a way to blow that game when they were up 28-3. Which, unbelievable, they found a way to lose that game. 28-3. Not aware of clock management, but that was Schottenheimer. I'm sorry, not Schottenheimer. That was your Kyle Shanahan, who was the offensive coordinator, who gets all this glory and credit. But he was a part of that, running plays when you're up 28-3, 28-10, with 20 seconds left on the play clock. What are you doing? We saw that. But what I will give Kyle Shanahan credit for is his run design plays. He doesn't just run the ball up the middle on every first down and second down. He gets guys involved. He does misdirection. He does a lot of track. He does things to get his best players the football. Deebo Samuels, he'll get him on a sweep. You get a guy that's dynamic as C-Mac, who leads the NFL in rushing. You get him involved in the game often early on. You get the guys ready to play. What the Dallas Cowboys were not, they were not ready to play against the Arizona Cardinals at all. Can't blame it as an early time game because they played at, it was 4:25 our time, and that would have been 3:25 Central Time. That's Dallas's normal time, but obviously they were on the West Coast. So now we're looking at that was a 1:25 game for us on the East Coast, or it would have been a noonish game for Dallas, which would have been maybe one of their earlier games because it's West Coast time. But no excuses. You went out there with the loss of Trayvon Diggs, with the loss of Zach Martin for this week. Hopefully he's back this week to play, against the Patriots. You lost Tyler Biadasz, your all-pro center, your Pro Bowl center. You lost your other Hall of Fame left tackle, who you got to know, this is Groundhog's Day. Tyron Smith is going to get hurt at some point during the season. I don't care if he goes to pick up a six-pound baby. He's going to find a way to hurt his shoulder. He's going to hurt something. For the most massive human being, he is extremely fragile. I don't know what his workout routine is, but he's just extremely fragile. So, and obviously we know Trayvon Diggs and the idiot Bart Scott who made that comment, can't wait. I can't wait for him to get off of television. That's what I can't wait to see. Get him off of television. So Dallas now has Ezekiel Elliott and the Patriots coming to town. And I want you to hear one of the videos again with one of the biggest Cowboy detractors. It's Stephen A. Smith at it once again, talking about Dallas and Dak and what he sees and what he is expected. Listen to this.
Playoff game to San Francisco before they turned around and lost the road playoff game to San Francisco the following year. Remember that? We talked about the penalties, right? So I'm giving you football stuff just like you just gave me football stuff too, to me and Doggy. No, put your hand down because I want to get to the biggest point.
Yeah.
And you had the temerity, the unmitigated gall, come on national television, and you just brought up maturity. That's what you said. You said
Immature performance.
Immature.
Yeah.
So now we got immaturity. So first it's 3 offensive linemen, and then I gave you the football reasons. You gave the football reason. Now we point to immaturity. All it does is point to what I've said on constant occasions.
Oh my God, bro.
They will find a way. What can go wrong will go wrong. Okay, just be patient. Just wait. It's coming. Because guess what, Marcus? You just gave me an additional reason why the Cowboys ain't gonna win this year. Oh, I get to ignore football, Molly. Now I get to point to their lack of maturity. They need to grow up.
Toy Story.
And so what Marcus Spears actually said is a very, very valid point. And of course, with, Stephen A. Smith and his love affair or his love to hate all things Dallas, but now it's not only about Dallas, it's about, he's chosen now because it's Dak Prescott. So there's something with Stephen A. Smith now and Dak Prescott. And I want to show you another video. This is all fair use and courtesy of ESPN, where now he's talking about who's to blame. Now, Marcus actually had something that was very, very true and accurate. There was injuries to key people, but there's also a lack of maturity as a football team. That's the bigger problem. Because if you come to play football, you don't need your coaches to get you ready. If you come to play football and understand that you are the Dallas Cowboys, you're going to get most people's best shot, then you have to understand you have to be ready to play football. But let's hear another interview courtesy of ESPN and Stephen A. Smith, who will go on to once again derail the Dallas Cowboys. So take a listen to this.
And you knew I was coming because, see, this is what the issue is. I keep telling y'all it's about moments, baby. It's about moments. Do the Cowboys deserve the slander? Hell yes, they deserve it, because we're not talking about them collectively in terms of the abilities of everybody around their quarterback. We're talking about their quarterback ultimately squashing whatever hopes and dreams they have, which has been my point all season, this side season, and throughout the offseason. What's Dak gonna do? What's Dak gonna do? What's Dak gonna do? I keep saying it. And that is what has transpired. The game is tight. The defense didn't have their stellar A game. We get all of that. All of a sudden, they still in a position to make something happen. The ball is in Dak Prescott's hands, and he throws it in triple coverage. Triple coverage. Right there. 3 different bodies in front of the receiver. He threw it there. This is what I'm talking about. So it just reminds me of what I say to Cowboy fans or all the folks out there talking junk. Just wait. Be patient. They will not let me down. And Dak Prescott showed it yet again. They won't let me down. I'm not concerned. I'm not concerned at all.
So Stephen A., once again, as we know, will find a way, as he tends to do, to bloviate on the failures of the Dallas Cowboys. But if you ask him this team, what is his team? Now, we know that his team is supposed to be, the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's his team, right? So Stephen A. Smith's team is the Pittsburgh Steelers, supposedly. So what type of success have we seen the Pittsburgh Steelers have? They haven't won a playoff game since 2016, 17. They haven't won a playoff game. But there's no energy for that team because they don't bring the eyes and earballs that the Dallas Cowboys bring, even though the Pittsburgh Steelers are one of the glamour franchises in the NFL. When you look at the Cowboys, the Steelers, the 49ers, you can look at teams. I'm talking about teams that travel. Their fans travel. Eagle fans even travel, right? You see Giant fans in different places. You see Raiders fans in different places, except Las Vegas. That's another story. But I'm talking about national teams that have a fan base that travels. But let me talk a little bit about this game in Dallas again, since we're doing this sort of a deep. Zeke is back, and I said something earlier about running backs. Well, Zeke Elliott is back in town. Zeke is back. Zeke is the 3rd leading rusher in the history of the Dallas Cowboys, behind only the NFL's all-time leading rusher, Emmitt Smith, and Tony do it all Dorsett. So Zeke is quoted with the Dallas Cowboys media day, this past Wednesday, that he says, I don't have that much time to be too emotional. He said, I've got to prepare for a game. I've got to go out and put my best foot forward. I mean, there are emotions, of course. I may do a good job of kind of hiding them, but there will be some emotions. So Zeke he said he actually laid out the details of what happened with Jerry Jones back in March, where he had a $16.7 million salary cap hit. And he said that he was released, 9 days before he was released. The Cowboys had to place the franchise tag on Tony Pollard of $10.09 million. And rightfully so. Tony Pollard is now 5th in the NFL in rushing, a little over, I believe it's last I saw, I believe he was 300 and what's TPs? I'm sorry, 264 yards rushing on 62 carries in 3 games, and he has 2 touchdowns. Tony Pollard also gives a lot of credit to Ezekiel Elliott. He said he had a great influence on him playing this game. He said just watching him and just watching how he does things and how he approaches things, his preparation throughout the week, his film study, and things like that. Pollard said just trying to pick his brain, growing with him over time. So Micah Parsons also chimed in on Zeke, who actually has 122 yards for New England on 28 carries, and he's also caught 6 passes for 21 yards. So we know that that's a part of it. But Micah says he misses Zeke's presence in the locker room. The joy that he brought to the game, and you can kind of see it. I mean, I'm obviously not in the Dallas Cowboys locker room, but Zeke is definitely missed. Play calling is the problem in the red zone, not necessarily Ezekiel Elliott, though, because they have a guy in Rico Dowdle who I think can get it done. He's physical, fast, and they just have to scheme it up better. Take a page out of the people like the San Francisco 49ers and Kyle Shanahan or the hated Eagles with Jalen Hurts. Why don't you run Dak Prescott in the red zone, Mike McCarthy? Dak does not have to be. He's not Tom Brady. He's not Matthew Stafford. He is not Matt Ryan. He's not Jared Goff. He's a big guy that can run. Now, he's not as fast as Jalen, but he's a big, strong guy that you could utilize an RPO in the red zone. You spread them out to run the football. You're so worried about, if the guy gets hurt, then he has to make sure that he slides and protects himself. But you can utilize this kid. Now, I'll say this. There is a celebration of something, or tribute to Ezekiel Elliott that will be planned before kickoff. And Zeke doesn't know what to expect from it. He said that it's going to be weird, being in a different uniform, being in the visitor's locker room. But he thinks it'll just be a good experience of kind of seeing the fans again. I think the fans will really support and appreciate what Zeke is going to bring to the table. But that's a part of the game. Unfortunately, trades are a part of the game, as we know, and just hope that Dallas can be mature enough to handle this game in the proper way. Will they be mature enough? Injuries are a part of the game. Now, key injuries to certain players, when you don't have enough time to prepare for it, that's a different story. Zach Martin, we kind of thought he got hurt a little bit against the Jets, so we wasn't sure if he was going to play. I believe Tyler Biadasz got hurt on Thursday. I mean, the game is Sunday. And Tyron Smith was a game time decision. So they ended up moving a guy to have to move over to center within a day's notice, essentially. And then you've got to move a guy who's better suited for a guard, and Ndoga, I think his name is. And now he has to play left tackle. Why didn't you just move Tyler Smith over and let Ndoga play guard, which I think he's better at? Tyler Smith can play guard or left tackle. This just certain things I don't understand what Dallas is doing. And the fact that you let Arizona out-scheme you, out-coach you, out-tough you, it's just unbelievable to me for a team that has Super Bowl aspirations, or at least a long, deep playoff run. So I didn't see it. Now, we're going to see what happens against the Patriots. I believe Mac Jones is a little bit different quarterback than what they faced these first 3 weeks. Here's what I mean. Daniel Jones can run. They call him Daniel Dimes for a reason. It's not because he's diming it up in passes. It's because he got some wheels on him. He can run. Zach Wilson, if he can do anything or anything at all, is he can run. And what you saw was large chunks of plays being done by Zach Wilson on the ground. We saw that, right? So, and then you run into a Joshua Dobbs, who, if he can do anything, he can run. So the problem with the Dallas Cowboys defense that game was you have mobile quarterbacks that can get out and wheel and deal. Now, Mac Jones is not that guy. He's not very mobile. So that shouldn't be the issue. So you can pass rush and with a guy that is not very mobile, but you have to maintain your edges, Cowboys. You have to maintain your edges, which contain. There were a lot of plays in that game against Arizona where the quarterback just got missing out on the edge, or the running backs, they ran to the edges. A lot of plays. So I don't know if there was a lot that was in the interior. I have to go back and look at the film, but there was a lot of plays that took place on the edges that hurt the Dallas Cowboys. Mozzie Smith, we do want to see you step up, man, because you're not going to hear any end of it from the Eagles fans, because Jalen Carter's a stud. In the words of Slick Rick, it was the moment I feared, because this is another issue that I have with the NFL. How do you let him fall to the Eagles? How do you not pick him up? Seattle, your defense is still bad. I believe they could have picked him up if I'm mistaken. I have to go back and look at it. But you ain't got another cornerback when you already had a good young quarterback. Nucleus. What are you doing, general managers in the NFL? What are you doing? You allow Howie Roseman to go get Jalen Carter. That just blows me away. He should have never been an Eagle, but he's a perfect Eagle. If you think about the city, the toughness, the grind, the griminess, he's a perfect Eagle for that scenario. Tough-minded. Philly fans are tough. Philly as a city's tough. You got to admit it. So, not that Dallas doesn't have his toughness, but there's some things that's missing that the Cowboys could surely need. And Mozzie Smith, all this strength I'm hearing about how strong he is. He's almost like Larry Allen, the legendary guy, Cowboys guard, offensive guard, who benched over 700 pounds. I saw it on video. Like, my goodness, how are you benching 700 pounds? But he's supposed to be extremely strong. I don't see it yet. I don't. Micah is a dog. Micah is Micah. But we got to figure out as Cowboy fans and as Cowboy coaches, really fans, all we can do is sit back and hope for the best. But Dallas Cowboys coaching staff, Zeke is back. Your boy is back. But are you going to bring back Dak and his legs and attack what the defense is giving you, especially in the red zone? Get CeeDee Lamb more involved in the passing game, all early and often. Brandon Cooks, let's see the speed. All I'm seeing is screens and you're throwing the Brandon Cooks in the seams and in the flat and in the post with people all around him. What are we doing? That doesn't even make any sense. That last interception, Dak, was an unnecessary throw to a guy that wasn't open. But get open, scheme them open, because this is supposed to be the issue. The thing has been resolved, that Dallas now has receivers that can get separation. Michael Gallup looks like MG of old now in that last game. So was your game plan just to get him going? Okay, you can get a guy going, but you can't forget about who brought you to the dance. CeeDee Lamb was not used nowhere near as well enough. But come on, Big Mike, scheme it open. Use your maturity. Use your experience as a Super Bowl winning coach and show the NFL and the media that you got game. You can coach it up. Dak, use your legs. They're not just big for nothing. Use your legs. Move it. Utilize it. Those are the things as a fan, not even on a coaching staff, that I could see is a problem. You didn't get athletic enough at tight end, but yet you still use another draft pick on a Michigan guy. Why? Got to do better. Must do better. Lastly, the Miami Dolphins look scary, but 70 points is no but. Denver's horrible. And Sean Payton, you did a lot of talking about Nathaniel Hackett and how bad of a job they did, and you didn't hold back. Well, guess who's doing a really bad job with the Denver Broncos? Sean Payton. Guess who's doing a really bad job? Sean Payton. So Miami, Buffalo, game of the year early. That's a big one to keep your eyes on. Miami goes to Buffalo. It's not too cold yet, though. That's going to be interesting. Now, Miami goes to Buffalo and puts up 30, 40 on them. They're definitely number one with a bullet. We'll see. Buffalo looked like Buffalo going to Washington and beating Washington, who hadn't played anybody. That's why they were 2-0. Tampa got exposed on Monday night against the Philadelphia Eagles because Tampa hadn't played nobody. They were 2-0 with a fraud. Atlanta Falcons, 2-0, hadn't played anyone, went on the road, and subsequently got beat. They're going to probably lose this weekend as well. So let's look at the games, and then I'm going to give you my Power 5, and then we're going to get on out of here. Let's see. Let's see the power. Let's see the big games in the NFL. Oh, big news also. I forget. Before I forget. Apparently, the spring football leagues, the XFL and the USFL, announced a plan to merge. So the XFL and the USFL said this past Thursday that two spring football leagues plan to merge and begin play next year in a joint statement. I think this is really good for both. The XFL and the USFL said the merger will be subject to customary regulatory approvals. If the transaction is consummated, the new league will establish best-in-class operations based on the most recent seasons of both leagues. The league said the historic combination will anchor professional spring football with substantial capabilities and resources to ensure future growth and continue to enhance the development of the collective players, coaches, and staff that are coming together. If you guys didn't know, the XFL is owned by movie star Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and his ex-wife Danny Garcia, while the USFL is under the ownership of Fox Corp. Johnson and Garcia led the ownership group that purchased the XFL for $15 million from longtime WWE chairman Vince McMahon, who owned the original version of the league that folded in 2001 and oversaw its 2020 relaunch that was suspended midseason because of the COVID-19 pandemic. But despite entering bankruptcy under McMahon, the XFL played a full 2023 season under the ownership of Johnson and Garcia. The USFL first operated for 3 seasons from 83 to 85 before folding and relaunching in 2022. So this is important how they're going to merge this. But the XFL has 8 teams from Seattle, Washington to Washington, D.C. The USFL also has 8 teams that stretch from New Jersey to Memphis. So I'll be curious to see how they merge, and maybe it'll be a full 16-team league, which will be great, and see how these guys play the season on out. This will be interesting. So again, big games in the NFL. Patriots at the Cowboys is your 4:25 kickoff on Sunday. The other game is going to be it's not really a big game to me. I think the Jaguars will probably bounce back against the Falcons, or they better bounce back. They're going to be playing that overseas in London. The Falcons at Jaguars. Jaguars are the proverbial home team. The game of the day is the Dolphins at the Bills, as we talked about already. In a game of somebody got to win, the Broncos versus the Bears. They travel to Chicago, and the Broncos are actually a 3.5-point favorite, which is amazing. The Ravens and the Browns, this should be a really nice defensive battle. The Ravens got to get healthy, because I'm not sure if they're healthy enough, but they got to get healthy. The Steelers will play a surprisingly efficient Texas team. And C.J. Stroud is the early favorite for offensive rookie of the year right now. He hasn't even thrown an interception. The kid has been phenomenally accurate. He was a guy I liked for the Panthers, but they didn't go that route. We'll see what happens with Bryce Young. speaking of the Panthers, the Vikings will, and Kirk Cousins has been lighting it up, by the way. It's not him that's losing these games. So we need to stop blaming Kirk and say this is Kirk is the problem, because old distant cousin is getting it done. Right. So we're gonna see about that. The other big game, NFC battle, Chiefs at the Jets. There's really no other big game to me in that game. I think, again, the game of the day is absolutely Buffalo and Miami at Buffalo at 1 o'clock. The Bills on early 2.5 point spread. And we'll be interesting to see what happens in the Cowboys and the Patriots game. Dallas needs to win that game to get back on track, because then they got to go to San Francisco, and they could be on possibly looking at a 3-game losing streak if they go to San Francisco and lose. It's 3 straight games. You can't have that. There could be some rumblings about head coach Mike McCarthy's job. But who do you replace him with? Dan Quinn? Most likely. Maybe that's why he's hanging around. We'll see, and hasn't taken another job. So, in any event, this is Sports Bucks with Steve. We sure appreciate you guys for being a part of this fun. I want to thank all of our sponsors, Tax Doctors, My Virtual Docs, the Super Rolf. Take a look at the Super Rolf for some really efficient tax advantage strategies, tax-free strategies. If you do it right, we can show you how to do this. Check us out on the superrolf.com. Don't forget, anybody who's rolling over money in a 401k, before you do that, go to 401kmistake.com. That is 401kmistake.com. This is open enrollment season, so if you're listening to this show, you need help with that, please call our office. We can help you. That's 980-281-1700. It's 980-281-1700. That's Ford Insurance Group. And somebody will assist you and help you get, at no cost to you, of course, help you get your health insurance set up. And we are ACA certified organization, so we can definitely help you. This is Sports Bucks with Steve. We want to thank you once again for listening. We'll see you later. Remember to like and subscribe. Tell a friend.